have even more bell spin tricks, so I decided to make another video. Perhaps there's other people out there that are also really into them that might benefit from it, but even if it's just for myself to catalogue my tricks and make sure I don't forget them, that's still good. So first up, we've got, so if you start from a helicopter and then like that, so you're doing an extension round in a circle. So here I'm hooking the top side, so it comes onto my stick like a helicopter, like there, and then this swings out like that, and you go all the way around in a circle. And then if you can get the hang of your floor plane bell spins like above your arm, then that can potentially become in-spin flowers or anti-spin flowers if you go in the other direction. This is quite a basic one, but I'm not sure I've actually shown it before, so it's basically the same as this, where it's kind of a flip-flop bell spin, except you're switching between sticks as you do it. So, like that. Something fairly basic that I missed out is in terms of catching your bell spins. So it's difficult to get it like, let's say I'm doing like this one. It's difficult to land it like perfectly on the point that you're aiming for. But yeah, it's better to catch it slightly like, you know, along the stick, because it will slide into place after you catch it. But yeah, not too far along. You see there, it kind of caught it around there. I think it probably depends also the angle that you're catching it. If it's quite vertical, then gravity will like kind of lock it into place. Whereas if it's more horizontal, you know, then it's gonna just end up in like being kind of a bit more stuck there. If you do happen to kind of not catch it by hitting the flower part, then yeah, you're not going to get into a bell spin like that. But what you can do is hit it and then go like catch it in a tick-tock. So let's see if we can get. So yeah, you can push the end away, and I've even had like you can kind of catch it on the flowers, because they kind of like the momentum of the flowers kind of flops around the stick, and then you can push against that. Like I think it happened there. So it's good to bear in mind that when you mess up, you can like recover from your mistake by, yeah, pushing it into a tick-tock rather than just giving up and like letting it fall on the floor because you missed, you know. Okay, and then we have trying to get into a balance catch from a bell spin. So it's easiest doing it just from static, so you're doing kind of 3/4 of a circle of a bell spin. And it's kind of similar to these in a way, the stick circle kind of bit. So it's coming around here, and then when it's vertical, you're bringing your stick around and putting it on the bottom so that it lands in a bounce. Like that. I'm not sure I can actually do this one, but in theory you could do a floor plane bell spin down here and then jump your legs over it like that. I think I've shown before that you can do under the leg bell spins like this. What you can also do is have your feet planted as you do it. So that seems to work best, is starting like with an under the leg one. I mean, obviously if you're flowing, you know, then you could like catch it here and then, so once you've got it spinning here, trying to put your foot down like this, it's a bit of an awkward position. It kind of makes you do like a back bend and like side bend. But I guess potentially, you know, the further back your hand is, the more straight you can stand up. You don't necessarily need to bring your hand like all the way through your legs. In theory, you could just start straight from here, but that seems to be quite challenging. And then for the opposite, we have through your legs from the front side, so it's spinning behind your back. I'm not sure I can really do this one, but I would imagine if you start with a spin like this, and then try to get into this position where you're facing away from it and it's spinning on the between your legs but behind you. Almost. Okay, so this thing has a ton of potential. So you may know about this thing, so from your TikTok, doing this kind of thing where your hand kind of hooks around, so and it stays in contact with your stick the whole time. And if you did more of one where if you did a TikTok more like this, whilst doing that same move, then it would resemble a bit more what the bell spin version looks like. So for learning the actual move, if you start resting on your hand sticks, and then you pull one away, and then as it swings, your hand stick comes to the other side, and you're trying to get it to pendulum back and forth like this. So you can start with just a single repetition like this and then back onto your hand sticks. And you can obviously try the other side if you want. But eventually you can get it continuous. And then you can try, once you've got the hang of it, going into it from a bell spin like this, and then killing the momentum into a pendulum. Yeah, so that's a drill you could try for the next level. So you're doing a single spin, pendulum, and then back to the sticks. So then that allows you to change direction of your bell spins, like whilst staying in a bell spin kind of thing. Okay, and then related, we have these pendulums where you're turning around, so you're doing like a pirouette. Like that. So there you don't, your hand just kind of stays as it is. And then when you get to the other side, you know, it's naturally still under the stick. So your stick just kind of like, you know, turns around as you turn around. Yeah, you want it to be like perpendicular to the stick, so here, and then as it swings,
comes across, and then at the start of the pendulum on the other side, it should be perpendicular to the stick, and then again back here.
So then that gives you more freedom of movement with your bell spins, because you can now turn around with them. Okay, and there's also a weird version of that where, so if you do your pendulum thing that I showed earlier, then your stick is now pointing inwards towards you rather than away from you. So then you can try and do turning pendulums in that position. So like this, and now the stick's still pointing inwards. So you can try and do a turning pirouette with your stick pointing towards you the whole time, if that makes sense. Like that. Okay, and a good thing to do in terms of drilling is to combine together different slide throws. So this one kind of doesn't change anything. So because it's still traveling in the same direction and it's on the same stick, and you can do that one where you pass it to the other stick. But anyway, so what I'm saying is, so you can combine together, for example, this with the slidey one. So again, slide, pass. So again, slide, pass. So then another combo would be to take this pass and then add slides to that. And then you could do the same for a single stick one also. So if we take that path, switching ends each time, and then you go slide and flip, slide and flip, slide and flip, slide and flip. And so with these floaty wand, you can try and add a slide across in at the top of your float. So bell spin, I'm assuming I just mean a bell spin in this kind of position. Okay, so from a buzzsaw, you can try catch it in a bell spin and then back to your buzzsaw again. So when it's in this position, I'm sliding this stick down to catch it here, and then it's coming across back into the buzzsaw. But yeah, when it comes around, you don't want it to land on top of this stick, unless that's what you're going for, but to go back to a buzzsaw, you have to move this stick out of the way and then catch it on this side. And then similarly, there's this over the shoulder roll. So swinging it. So if you roll it over the shoulder here, and then as it comes over, you're trying to grab it here into a bell spin, which can be quite a challenge. Probably the easiest way to practice that would be to just have it resting like that, and then over the shoulder, and see if you can get that catch there. Catching it back into the bell spin is the trickiest part. There it was a bit too, there wasn't much stick poking down, which probably means that I have to, when I place it on, have my stick higher up, and then there'll be more length poking down, I would imagine. But yeah, obviously if it kind of falls off, that's also going to make it not work. So you want it to be rolling relatively slowly to give you as much time as possible to catch it, but also if it spins too slowly, then it's going to lose tension and then not roll properly, and then it'll be in the wrong position to catch it. Oh, nice, there we go. Another thing that's worth mentioning is you can do slow flowers like you would with poi, like when you're learning flowers, which, you know, they can be a drill in order to get good at bell spin flowers, but they can also be a cool move just on their own. So have a bell spin and they try and move it through an extension, and then trying to get comfortable doing bell spins in all the different places, like all the different angles that your arm can be in. So that's in spin, and then if you go the other way, then it's anti-spin, where your arm and the stick are going in opposite directions. Okay, so I have atomic extension written down. I'm assuming that means it could be this, and then trying to pass it here, and then continuing it moving around in an extension. Yeah, so for atomic extension, so you could have a bell spin here that's travelling around in a circle, and then you have to pass the stick, and around there, so you're drawing a circle with your arms, but the bell spin is spinning vertically. Yeah, so for this atomic extension, so you're doing a wall plane circle whilst the stick is doing a bell spin in wheel plane. So you do you draw the non-native side, and then pass to the other hand. So that's drawing the non-native hand on the other side. If you try and do it like where you're drawing the native side, then when you go to do the pass, you know, then you'd be on the wrong side. You'd have to like get over here, so that kind of doesn't work. You kind of have to do it where you're drawing the non-native side here, and then pass across and draw the non-native side there. I can't really do it very well yet, but you know, in theory that should work. And as part of that, you know, it would help to practice your wheel plane bell spins with your arms out wide here, and all of the different angles involved. Although I guess that is native though, isn't it? But yeah, for general control, it's good to also practice on the native side, doing those atomic bell spins where the stick is going in wheel plane but your arm's going in wall plane. And then I'm sure you could, in theory, come up with some way to pass it across the top even whilst your stick is outwards, but it seems like it would be more difficult. But maybe with a turn or something it could work. Okay, so if you're in a floor plane bell spin like this, then you can do a throw and try and catch the other end to end up in a bell spin once again. Kind of. And then there's the kind of above the head version also. Like that. And in theory you could do a stick pointing down one too. Related to the sliding one, you can do the same kind of thing, except rather than pulling the stick stays still and your hand moves instead. So like yeah, pendulum bell spins basically like this, which I think can look quite visually effective, having it travelling across. And then if you add in those float ones where your stick comes around, then you can use that to change direction. You can do pendulums back and forth. And there's a trick you can do with them where you keep your feet planted. So I'm doing, so I start with a bell spin out here and then pendulum. So I'm basically doing like 4 stick lengths across. So I start with a slide out to here and it does pendulum, pendulum, pendulum. You have 4 stick lengths, but you stay still. Like that, but obviously you want to not drop it at the end. So I'm doing like 2 bell spins on one stick and then the other 2 on the other stick. So you can do kind of a extended pendulum like that with a flip on each side. So you could kind of think of it as like this move, but extended out a bit with a half a circle extension. And then you can try doing the same kind of thing, but more in a straight line across, like this. So for this one, I'm doing a pendulum here, and then having a pendulum behind my back, and then trying to bring this around and catch it with the same stick there. Not sure exactly what other bell spin ones I've done before about this. I'm not sure exactly what other behind the back bell spin ones I've done before, so I'll have to check. But perhaps this could be one. There's this one where you're doing a pendulum behind your head here and then trying to go for a catch here. Yeah, so another fairly easy one you can do is take this and then add a little propeller tap in the middle. So it's like a half spin propeller. The pendulum from what? So an issue with these pendulum kind of ones is, say I do a bell spin, and then bell spin and then stop it in a pendulum here. So if I then go in the other direction, then my arm's kind of in the way. So I can get into like a chicken wing kind of position, like having it resting there. But you know, another thing I can do from there is here, if I turn to the other side, then that allows me to do a bell spin on the other side. But there must be another way to get back into a bell spin without having to do a 180. Or you could potentially do like a throw from there and then catch back into here, but that might be quite tricky. Oh yeah, I've figured it out. Right, so what you would do is you do a pendulum, and then you pendulum here, and then you continue that pendulum back here. That allows you to open back up with your stick facing to the front, and then you can spin again. So it like comes around, pendulum, pendulum, and then you're going back the same direction again. So pendulum, pendulum, like that. And then say I was going the other way, then it would be like, I'm not sure how it works that way. I have to figure that out. Okay, so something I realised earlier is that the pendulums I showed, they only work for inward bell spins. So from inward one, you can go to this pendulum here. But for outward bell spins, that doesn't work. But there's another technique you can use, which is like this. So it's doing a pendulum, but the stick is on the outside instead of the inside. Does that make sense? So the first one, it has to be on the inside, like this. But then for the other one, it's on the outside, like this. So like that. Got it a little bit there. Oh, there we go. It's working nicer now. Seems to be quite close to my hand, but maybe that's fine. Yeah, so there I entered it from a flip like this and then straight into there. So because after the flip it's in like a pendulum position, that means, you know, it's not going to have loads of momentum like it would if you were doing it from a bell spin. You know, eventually you would try that like outward bell spin and then from there try and go into the pendulum, you know, but that's a lot of momentum to try and slow down. Okay, and then if we revisit our pendulum pirouette turn from before, so it looked like this. But what you can also do is do this. So if it's on the inside, then I have to turn clockwise when it's on my right hand because it's swinging this way. Whereas if it's on the outside, then that makes me turn in the other direction. So if I attempt to do it the other way, so like doing a flip and then rather than coming across in front, doing a flip and going the other way, then I'm in this like really weird position. Like you could technically do it like this, swing like this, but it's not very natural. and what would feel natural is to do the flip and then catch it here. But then if I do that, you see I'm now on the inside like I was before, so it seems like that's pretty much a rule. So if I'm on the inside, I turn clockwise. If I'm on the outside, I turn anti-clockwise. And then probably, yeah, so if I'm on my left side, then inward would make me turn anti-clockwise, and on the inside, being on the inside makes me turn anti-clockwise, which is the opposite, and then being on the outside makes me turn let's actually do it so that, so anti-clockwise, that's on the inside, clockwise. So when you catch on the inside, you're kind of swinging from the non-native to the native, and then continuing to turn in that direction towards the native side. Whereas when you catch on the outside, you're swinging from the native to the non-native, and then continuing to spin in that direction. Maybe there's a better way to make it make sense. Okay, and something I've just thought to try is not doing a full pirouette, but taking half of it kind of. So I'm doing like this, I'm doing figure of 8, and then changing direction. So you're doing swing, swing, and then you can either do a flip here, swing, swing, flip, or you can do this thing of doing a float and bringing your stick over and back that way. Might be easier to do like this, but yeah, doing kind of figure of 8s, like going side to side is a lot easier with pendulums than it is with actual figure of 8. So with the bell spin figure of 8s, which are normally quite challenging, so I would normally do this. So as it's coming over to the other side, I draw like a circle with my stick around like that and catch it. But I wonder if that's actually making things harder than they should be, because you could also do this. So as it comes to the other side, your stick points this way, and then you can just do a half circle around like that, like similar to the floats, like this. You're essentially doing that, but whilst it's vertical. The only issue is then you kind of have to wait later so that your stick is this way in order for there to be less movement, so then you have less time to do that movement, but I think it could be superior versus doing this. But anyway, let's see if I can actually get a good one demonstrating it. That worked. And especially if you can get some height on the, because it's kind of like an obi throw, if you can get it to kind of go up a bit, then that's kind of like making it naturally like give you space to almost just bring the stick like sideways and then have the stick fall down again into place. kind of seems to work like that. So, and then the stick goes up, you bring your stick across, and then it falls on it like that. It's kind of what it feels like it's doing when it works. This one's rather advanced, I can't actually do it yet, but I'm pretty certain in theory it should work. So it's kind of a combination of these pendulum turns and these around the head. Oh, hair got in the way. And those around the head pendulums. So the idea is you're doing a pendulum behind your head, and then you're turning whilst keeping the pendulum here behind your head. But yeah, since it's blind, it's very challenging. So behind the head, and then what? Oh, it's working. Nice. Okay, so a few more things you can do with the pendulum. So first is to try and like extend it out like this. So, rather than your stick just staying on one spot, having it, you know, aiming to do like a full extension pendulum, you know, once you've properly got the hang of it. Okay, and then you can take the pendulum and put it under your leg, so that, and then that, and then that's it. And from there you can, oh. So when you're under your leg you can throw out of it, or, you know, do stuff whilst under your leg. And the next one, so it looks like that. So I do a pendulum here, and then I do a pendulum behind my back here, so the stick points away from me as it's here, and then as it comes to my front, my stick points to the front again. And then I throw it out like that. So and then you could potentially also with the pendulum come across the front side. So So for the front side one, it seems to work better when the stick's on the outside. So if you enter it by doing a flip and then bring it across behind, so your stick is pointing behind you, and then it swings here, and you go for a catch there. This would probably take quite a bit of practice to get consistently, but with your floaty ones like this, another way to get your stick round to the other side is to throw the stick in a stick flip like that. And on this side, throw it, catch here, like that. Okay, so you want it like relatively close to your hand, so that then when you flip it, you've got a lot of length. That makes sense? So if I have it there, when I flip it over, the long end is now going to be towards me, so that gives me more space to catch it. So earlier I said that throwing out of this position might be tricky, but that's because I was imagining a same direction throw where it continues in the same direction. But if you do one where it changes direction, do a flip throw like that, then it's a lot easier. So you go bell spin, pendulum, flip throw. And you can loop that repeatedly. Okay, so the equivalent with an outward bell spin, I believe, would be this. So outward bell spin, pendulum here, and then back here, and then flip, and then outward, pendulum, but yeah, I can't do that one, I don't think. But there's an easy one I can do where you remove the spin. So you're going pendulum, pendulum, and then flip, pendulum. So that's without the spin. But, you know, this is kind of like a prerequisite move. Pendulum, pendulum, flip, pendulum, pendulum, flip. And once you've got that down, it'd just be a matter of adding the bell spin back in. But obviously it's harder doing a pendulum out of a bell spin because there's a lot of momentum that you've got to try and slow down. And then related to that, why not add a flip on both sides? So you flip, pendulum, flip, pendulum. Yeah, that doesn't seem to work so well on the inside version. So, oh yeah, so you can add one there. Then on, yeah, and you could in theory add one there. It's just very challenging because you're doing it kind of in your armpit, which is a bit odd. There, you see, it is technically possible. It's still a lot harder than the version where the stick's on the outside. Inside one, you probably generally just want to do a flip on that side. And then perhaps you could turn those flips into, rather than just a 180-degree flip, adding extra spin. Makes it a lot harder. Interesting exercise you can try, just to do this kind of outward pendulum, but grabbing one stick with both hands. And then I think it might be quite helpful for getting your whole body involved with these pendulums, because you see I'm pretty much turning my body 180 degrees with the pendulum. I mean, you could in theory do it like your body fixed and then just like rotating your hand, but then it makes it more challenging, and you know, and it's nice to get your whole body involved, make it more dancey, you know. And then you can do an inside version as well, where it's between your arms. is it the opposite? Like, yeah, so that's an interesting thing to notice. So for the outside one, I'm moving to the opposite side of where the stick is, whereas on the inside one, I'm moving towards the side that the stick is. And I just thought, so the fact that you're turning to the same side that the stick is swinging when you're doing the inside pendulum bell spin means that it's quite natural to place this stick here behind your back. Yeah, and then I'm sure you could think of various things to do from there. So you could go into like a waist wrap bell spin there. Ooh, I just thought of something cool. So you can do it both sides. So you're just pausing for a moment here. And then going back again. Just thinking from there, perhaps you could turn around, flip this stick there, and then flip that again, and then I don't know, but yeah, you get the idea. Spinning around to be facing the other side, so it'd be like that, and then you'd hook this one here, and then that would come out here again. Jump, and then what else could you do from here? You do a buzzsaw here. Oh. Seems like that's possible, doing a strange waist wrap buzzsaw. I don't know if you do like behind the back one. Probably want a shorter flower stick for this. But yes, that's the thing. So related to this behind the head pendulum, you can also do a pendulum that doesn't go behind your head. Instead, it goes in between your face and your arm. So it's still like this side of my arm, but yeah, I have to lift it up quite high for it to not hit my arm. You know, if I tried to just do like this, then it would hit my arm. If you hit, obviously the shorter your flower stick is, then the less, then you know, you don't have to lift it as high if it's shorter. But yeah, so it goes like that. I guess you could get it on the other side, and then you could do a looping pattern like this. That's quite cool. And so that's, yeah, so there I'm doing, yeah, pendulums that way. I'm wondering if I could flip it this way and then do it that, yeah, so that also works. So if you do flip it and then you do pendulums in the other direction, so it's kind of like anti-clockwise if you're looking down on it rather than clockwise. Although, you know, it's pendulums rather than circles, so it's kind of, you know, right. if you imagine it, we're kind of an oval. Okay, this is quite exciting. So I realised that you can do floats using the pendulums where it's in continuous contact. So it works better with the outside ones. So if you catch like that, so if you flip it, catch it on the outside, and then try and you taking this pendulum and then trying to extend it up and down. So then it's similar to these ones, but you don't have to do the switch. You can just stay in continuous contact, which is pretty cool. And then, but yeah, if you do the inside version, then obviously like here, you know, there's limited float distance in a way because it would hit your arm, but you can still float it a bit. So yeah, for your inside ones, you'd mostly be able to extend it up when it's on this side. You can float it a bit here, like under your arm, you know, but only so far. I guess you could jump if you wanted to float it higher. So this is like a theoretical trick which I can't do, but it would be very cool if someone manages to do it, you know, but it's often the case, you know, that you come up with tricks that in theory would be possible and would be super cool, but in reality is very difficult, I think. So the idea is doing a figure of 8 in like floor plane, so it like going above and below your arm, but the issue is that, so if I'm in a floor plane bell spin like this, then when it comes below my arm it's going in the wrong direction, so I have to do this kind of a thing where I'm bringing it round to the other side of the stick, and then from going under my arm to above my arm I would again have to do that, so it would be like switch and then switch. But I wonder if we could use that concept from earlier so that it's just moving your stick like the minimum amount kind of thing. Just something like that. Very cool if someone manages to do that from my explanation. So with this inside pendulum, I realised that you can go even further and take it over here. So there's kind of like, so your stick points towards you and then away from you and then towards you again, but it's like on the outside of your arm. But obviously if you stay here then you would hit against your arm, so you only go there like momentarily. Swings out and you twist this way, but then you have to twist back again as it swings in. So for under the leg catches I'd normally do this type where it's landing kind of vertically. But what you can also do is do like float catches. So like that, for example. native side and then catching under the native leg. So there's a float up on the left side, and then my right hand comes underneath my right leg and catches here. Yeah, it would probably be quite awkward generally doing a catch like with the same stick on this side. You'd be doing some weird like crossover thing, like trying to catch here, but it would technically be possible. But yeah, generally it's just easier to catch with the opposite stick. Floats out of a bell spin. It's probably easiest to just go straight into a float after the catch. Cool there. Okay. So it seems like it's easier to not include the floats. So with floats would be a harder version. It would give you more time to catch it, but it seems a lot more difficult to go straight out of a catch into a float. And going from bell spins into a float is quite difficult also. So the easiest version is you're basically doing this, like a beginner kind of drill, except it's going under your legs. It's a bit fancier. So it's dropping a little bit. It's not like the stick's coming all the way to meet it. So I guess it would be a bit more like this. So allowing the stick to drop like a few inches and raising it back up again. It's kind of a slight float maybe. So you can just stay under the same leg, it seems. I wonder if you could do kind of a behind the back, where you're continuously going behind your back and then swing it to the other side. I guess for that you would be swinging it quite fast. You'd probably want to practice this kind of a motion first. Yeah, maybe, and then you could start with this, and then drop behind the back, and then come back to that as like a base pattern. And then you could potentially just keep on going round and round in a particular direction, which could be quite cool.
can actually be better the other way, because then I'm catching with the right stick. But yeah, you do, have to include, like, as you're doing the swing, bringing it behind you, because you have to obviously go from in front to behind in terms of the planes, so you're kind of swinging it like that, so that it gives that distance. Okay, so if we take this as like our base pattern, this anti-spin kind of throw, and then we're going under the native leg. I'm trying to loop it. And then there's also this single stick version. So I'm doing the anti-spin throw. I'm doing anti-spin throw in one direction, and then on the way back I'm just swinging across and doing a stick flip. So it's only the anti-spin in one direction. But you could do it in both directions, you just have to do the throw from here. Like that. Okay, so I showed this drill before, where it's kind of like a no beat throw in poi, where it's where you're taking your stick away for a moment and then putting it back again in the same place. And it can kind of seem, a bit silly, like why would I ever do that in my flow? It seems a bit pointless kind of thing. But when you do it over a body part, then it makes more sense. Like why would you would use it? Like there's more of a logical reason to do it. So anyway, for example, over the arm, like this. Then it makes more sense. And then similarly, you can do it over the leg. And then there, you should be able to do it around the body as well. Here's a little loop you can do to practice those over the arm no beats. So you're doing an inward bell spin over the arm, and then going over the other side, and then when you're learning, you can pause in the middle, but then once you've got the hang of it, make it more smooth and take the pause out and just go right into the other side. So if you can do these floor plane bell spins above your head, then you can play with turning in the same direction. And you can also turn in the opposite direction.
realise that you can also do over the arms with your flip one. So a single side loop would be like that, flip. So you're doing a flip over the arm, and a normal flip, and then over the arm, repeatedly. And then if you want to do it both sides, so you go over the arm, transfer, and then flip, and then cut out. And then there's a really weird one where you're going, it's kind of like a poi butterfly, if you're into poi. So you're doing a flip over the arm, as before, but then I'm catching it with these. So flip it over the arm, but then I slide this hand back so that then it's landing on the stick of the arm that it's going over, if that makes sense. And then the arms switch, so this one comes in and this arm extends out. So then now it's going over this arm, but then the stick slides back and catches it. If I manage to do it, then that might make more sense to watch. See, so it's like flipping over your arm, and then right at the last minute you're sliding back to catch it. And then flipping over this arm, and then sliding back to catch it. So I've got another leg one for you. So this is our base pattern. So you do a flip, and then you do a pendulum, and take it with the other stick here. Flip, pendulum, like that. And then we're going under the native leg as it does the pendulum, like this. Alright, not sure how I've shown this, so it's like a slide going to the other stick. So then you can combine together that move with a pendulum, and then loop that. And then it can be quite nice to add a slide on each side to that. So you're going slide to the same stick, slide to the other stick, slide to the same stick, and then pendulum. So that looped. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a cool figure of 8 slidey one if I can manage it. So you're doing kind of a pendulum using this thing where the stick points to the other side, and then sliding to the other stick, and then same again. Doing this kind of pendulum, and pull it towards.